Welcome to the R.E.D Network, where real estate dads juggle the high-stakes hustle of their careers with the heartwarming chaos of family life. Whether you're closing deals, changing diapers, or chasing dreams, we've got you covered. Join us for stories, strategies, and laughs as we navigate the perfect balance between hustle and home. The R.E.D Network, where real life meets real estate.
Keith Collins.
What's up, man?
Welcome.
Hustling home. That was cool.
Welcome to the first episode of the R.E.D Network podcast. Thought it was appropriate to have you as our first guest, since, at least like 5 or 6 of our fans will recognize us from Fireside Chats. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off with an introduction. On today's episode of the R.E.D podcast, we're excited to welcome a true expert in the mortgage industry, Keith Collins. Keith has been a trusted mortgage broker since 2004 and has become the go-to resource for home loans in Franklin and Nashville. With over 2,500 closed loans under his belt, Keith is known for quick pre-approvals and stress-free closings. Keith has been married to his high school sweetheart for 21 years. He's the father of 2 daughters, 8 and 12. If you follow him on social, you'll notice him working on the farm on weekends, tending to the garden, playing with the kids, messing with horses, and this past weekend, playing with bees. We're diving into how Keith balances his successful business with life at home and the lessons that he's learned along the way. So whether in real estate or looking to better understand the mortgage process, we just want to hear how a pro gets it done while keeping family at the center. You're in for a great conversation. Keith, welcome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's an awesome intro. I'm excited about this. I think this is a good topic of discussion for sure.
I have to backtrack a little bit. Tell me about the bees.
Like how do we get into it, or just bees?
How did you get in? I know this. Our 1 or 2 viewers are not going to know this. How did you get into
definitely. Bees? I like to do a lot of things, and my wife knows that. I can't rest. If we're sitting on the beach, I'm not sitting on the beach. I'm walking on the beach, right? Like I have to be in constant movement. I heard this once: when you work with your head, you rest with your hands, and you work with your hands, you rest with your head. And we're doing head stuff all day long, and so I feel rest and relax when I'm moving the body on the property. So we got property. We're like enjoying it and having a good time. And I think this is a month or 2 before Christmas. My wife, I'm like, literally this is the conversation. Like bees are cool. But yeah. Like I like bees. I'm telling you that's it. Right. And for Christmas, my wife gets me everything that you need to do to basically have a hive and kind of get it all set up outside of, actually getting the bees.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing bees. And so that was 2.5 years ago or so. And yeah, now we're into it. The girls are into it. They have their own suits. I've got my suit, and they come up and do bee inspections with me. It's really cool. The honey's awesome. The process is cool. It's coming over here from girls who had to call me in the morning, like in the middle of the night, to get the fly out of their room because they're freaking out. Now they're, playing with bees. Yeah. It's cool to see them progress. And
Have they seen Bee Movie?
What's the Bee Movie? Are you talking about the one with Jason Statham?
Pixar, what? It's like Jerry Seinfeld, Bee Movie.
No. Oh, yeah. Yes, we've seen that. And I'm like, no, they haven't seen the Jason Statham movie.
No. Yeah, that's probably not one. They're going to need a little bit for that one. Going to need a little bit for that one. But okay. That's awesome. Whenever I saw that, I just thought, that's you and I are a lot alike in a lot of ways. And I know that my wife probably senses that something like that is in our future at some point.
I love it. They're fun. It's cool. Something totally different. I've definitely nerded out on it, but I enjoy it. It's something calming about it for sure. And I think there's some, it's a little intense your first time there, and you got a hive open. They're everywhere, and you've just got this thin little suit that you have to learn some patience.
There's some figure it out that's involved.
Yeah, for sure. But it's fun. It's cool.
Well, it's something you can do with family. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about today is, the tagline is balancing hustle and home. And no one hustles harder than you, but you have such a great balance, or at least that's what it seems like outside looking in and from talking with you. So first, tell me, how did you get started in the industry? And then, what are some things that you kind of learned along the way?
Yeah, I got a couple of lucky breaks, and I think a lot of people do. One, marrying my wife. She saw something in me that no one else did, and kind of ripped it out. And she was in real estate at the time when we got married, and I was bartending. And she told me lovingly that I needed to get a real job because because she was going to work during the day and I was going to work at night, and we were just passing each other as a young couple. So she was doing real estate. She doesn't do real estate anymore. Hasn't done it for years. I retired her 10 years ago or so, but it just seemed pretty congruent for me to get into mortgage. My dad had been an independent mortgage broker for like 30 years, and I'd seen his success. And I actually, one year, this was maybe 4 or 5 years before, I was in his office grabbing something, and he had his tax return on the desk. And I was like, no way. Okay. Dad. All right, Dad. And I always had kind of an interest from it. I don't know if he still knows that I saw that said to this day, but that always kind of piqued my interest in there. And yeah, so we just kind of fell into it. And then I don't know how I got this, man, but there was a rep that was coming by the office. I think this is important because we all need mentors. And he told me, man, you need to get out of this place and go over here, and I'll set you up with an interview. And it's just, Paresh Patel, I remember him. I mean, dude, I've been doing this for 20 years. So yeah. He tells me to go talk to this guy, Randy Masters. Randy Masters is one of the top 50 originators in the country at the time. And he was looking for 4 people to hire a mentor. And I went through 7 interviews with this guy because I was bartending. It's like, what do you know? And he hired me, man. And we coached intensely for 3 years, and fundamentally changed my career.
What do you think he saw in you? He interviewed with you 7 times, deep dive. And, obviously this is a guy that could probably bring on anybody that he wanted, saw something in you. What do you think that was?
I would love, that's actually a good question. I'll call him one day. I'd love to hear what his actual answer is, because I don't know. But I think, for me, I think there's 2 superpowers that I have, and one's optimism, the other one's energy. And so I enter every situation with optimism, sometimes blind optimism. And I always carry energy into it. I think both of those things are truly a superpower. I was watching this podcast the other day, and he was talking about Conor McGregor. And he was talking about how Conor McGregor, he was in this room one time hanging out with some people, and then Conor McGregor walks in, and everybody in the room stands up a little taller, you know what I mean? And he talks about him coming in the room and just being full of optimism and energy, and just kind of like people are, just glowing. Yeah. It's a superpower. Of course he's a great fighter, but he's got this personality that people just kind of want, love or hate him. It's interesting. And so, contagious. Contagious. So contagious optimism and energy, I think. And especially in real estate, where it can be so up and so down, no one wants to be around a negative person.
No. And consistency is the key in that, and just constantly being optimistic, and that lifts everybody up around you. Tell us a little bit about what does your business look like today? You just made some changes recently. What's your business look like today?
So independent mortgage broker. I absolutely love it. I've got, I'm a co-owner in the company, and then, which we just started. And then I operate my own origination business. So right now we've got 12 originators that work for us, and then I originate personally. It's 2020. In 2024, I did about $55 million in purchase volume, which is awesome. In terms of team makeup, I have an LOA, loan officer assistant. That's what the industry calls her. We call her client experience manager. She's my right hand. We've been together for 16 years.
Wow.
She's my right hand. And within the last 30 days, I hired my first executive assistant. So I just hired an admin executive assistant for the team to help me grow.
That's awesome. So ready to scale.
Yep. We got a lot of other support within kind of the company, but in terms of my own personal production, those are just those 2 people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is one strategy or habit that's contributed the most to your success over the years?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the idea guy. So I'm constantly reviewing, I think, looking at systems and support structure, right? Realizing what you do really well, and then finding other people that do well what you don't do well, right? But I'm a seminar junkie. I'm always going to seminars, trying to find, great information and tips and energy that help me kind of figure out and stay aligned with my optimism and energy that people like to be around. Right. So I always have ideas, and I always have those ideas because I'm always trying to be around people that have them too, and just kind of share that. So I think that's something. The other thing too is, I think looking at the business and realizing when you're stretched and when you're not. Mm-hmm. And I'm not stretched in the mornings. So, man, if I'm consistently up, I'm not perfect. I nail the habits as best as I can, but not all the time. But when I'm up at 4:45 in the morning at my desk, getting, that hour and a half grinding in the morning, my whole day is different, because as this business and on the lending side, it's reactionary. We're reacting all day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're reacting, you fall into this false sense that you're actually doing work, but you're not. You're just responding to what's already been done.
Yep.
And so dedicating a lot of time and energy into building the business, working on the business rather than in it, I think has been massive for me. And I think as it relates to this podcast, that I wouldn't be able to be home and be present for the kids in the evening if I wasn't up early working on that stuff. Because there's projects that you always have to be working on to move the business forward. And you can't do them in the middle of the day, I don't think. At least I've not figured that out. So you're either going to have to do them in the evening, which gets in the way of the kid time, right? Family time and kid time. Or you do them early in the morning when the kids aren't up. And so that's been, like, if it's one thing, it's up at 4:45 in the morning, at my desk at 5, putting in an hour and a half grind before the kids are up.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't it funny? We talked about this a little bit earlier of, everybody sees on social media the Facebook effect, right? You follow these successful people and it's very easy to admire their success and everything looks great. And they go on these vacations and they get to spend time with their kids and it seems like they make good money and all this stuff. And no one really looks at what it took to get there. And it's the Facebook effect of, you're not following these influencers that are putting in 16-hour days and paycheck to paycheck for who knows how long. And, in that grind beginning phase, you're just kind of looking at that, after effect, right? Yeah. And to get there, sometimes you have to do things that are uncomfortable. And I know for me personally, it was not comfortable starting to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to be able to get my stuff done. But what is comfortable is being able to be done whenever I come home and play with the kids, right? Have family time, because you're not being reactionary. You've already put in your time because you've been at work since 5 a.m, right? Whether you're working on yourself or actual, business stuff. So I just find that funny. What's a challenge that you faced in your business that has kind of, helped set you up with where you're at today? And, how did you overcome it?
I mean, I'm super ADD. I chase shiny pennies all the time. So it's bad. It's really bad. I don't medicate. I don't believe in it. For me, it doesn't work for me. And I was over medicated as a kid. Mm-hmm. And so I have to understand my strengths and weaknesses. And one of those is focus. And so I have to do everything that I can to better focus. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges I have is trying to look at my schedule. Like, if you look at my schedule, a lot of people would think that's crazy, right? But for me, that's the only way that I can stay focused, stay on task, and get the stuff done during the day that needs to get done. Otherwise, I chase pennies. And so I have to be careful with social media. Social media sucks me in. I find myself sometimes, you're like, 30 minutes go by and you feel like you're working. You're not working to get anything done. Yeah. And so, there are times where, social media, I think, is probably a challenge for me. I get a ton of business from it, business to business. I think the majority, I think, like, for us, probably that really started strongly from, social media. Mm-hmm. 4 years ago or so? And we started 4 years ago. It was a while ago. It was before I moved to Tennessee. Right. We had a conversation. I was, about all this. And then, that kind of probably warmed up the relationship. So for me, it's super important, but I have to put boundaries behind it and around it, because I'll chase those pennies and lose focus.
It's easy to chase after that squirrel. I've got one more question in regards to business, and then, but I want to kind of go back to, because that reminds me of how we started getting to know one another. Yeah, I heard that you may be moving out to Tennessee, and so I was like, I'll add this Keith guy to see what he's all about, and added you on Facebook, and got a video DM back. And not uncommon, if you're a real estate agent and you get a message from a lender, you get a lot of those. Sometimes they're canned responses. Sometimes they're just kind of a generic video. But I opened it up and it was directed to me. It was like, hey, Jason, and, don't know how we know each other. Saw you ad. And it was just a very personal touch. And that was actually the first time that I'd really seen something like that. And I thought that was really cool. And now knowing you and knowing your business and how personal you are with all the relationships that you've got, it tracks. But I remember that. I thought that was really cool. I thought that's
Thanks, man. Yeah, video. People think of video and social media as what they have to create and put out there, but it's a communication tool. We forget about this, right? Social media is something that was created so grandma could see pictures of their grandkids.
Yep.
You know, it's this and video, I think, is an amazing opportunity for you to connect with people. And those little video, I send them all the time, quick little video follow, especially like a new client. You get a new client referred to you, they don't really know you, have a 10-minute initial conversation. I'll always follow up with a video text and just say, hey, I just wanted to pay to face the name. It was a great conversation. I so appreciate learning your goals about home ownership. You know, I'm excited. Call me with any questions. I mean, it's just simple, but it's that extra touch. It's that slide edge. There's so many books about that. Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point, the slide edge. It's those little things that you can do to
just
set yourself apart from competition. Yeah, and it's easy. It's not that hard. You're already like have your phone in your hand. Take an extra 2 minutes and do a video.
Exactly. And it might be uncomfortable to somebody, but if you can do it a few times, then it becomes more comfortable. You get that callus a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that. If you were to give a piece of advice to real estate dads looking to scale their business, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things I'd say. We talked about comparison syndrome. I think if you're new, you know, the problem is the people you're following are the people that are kind of already there, and you're not really seeing that grind.
Yeah.
And then, we actually, as part of our story, we struggled when we first got married with fertility for about 5 or 6 years before we were able to have our first. I look back on that and it was exactly what we needed because it allowed me to actually grind without the kids to build the business and then kind of get me where I'm at today. I mean, there was many, 14, 16-hour days. I'd work in the beginning. I was working 6 days a week, and sometimes I'd do 4 and 5 open houses a week. I would go on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and do an open house. And it was just an opportunity, any opportunity that you can have. And so I think that's the big problem was when you're new getting into the business, you don't realize the grind and then you're like, I'm away from my kids. I'm doing we all have that, right? Like that's just the thing. You can't compare yourself to people where you want to go. You have to look at kind of where you're at today. The other thing too, is I would say is like, people talk about life balance, and we talked about this earlier. I think that's completely false. There's no such thing as work-life balance.
Yeah.
Gary Keller, talks about it a lot. And the one thing, right, is you're constantly out of balance. If I'm on a 2-week Italian vacation with my family, I'm out of balance significantly. And that's into balance with family, way out of balance with work, right? And then when we come back, you have to fix stuff. Before I go on the trip, I'm way out of family balance as I'm trying to get everything so that I can go take my 2-3 week trip. And so I think balance doesn't look like the straight line, as Gary says. It's this, and we have to understand that, realize where it is. But it's self-awareness. I think that I'm going somewhere, I guess, with that. Self-awareness, I think, is a hidden superpower that a lot of people don't have. And it's having that self-awareness to realize, shoot, like I've gone a little too far out of balance on work. I need to bring back to family time. The other big thing for me is just I put my phone away. I mean, I've got to a place at least now where like nothing really is happening after 8 o'clock at night. No transactions falling apart after 8 o'clock at night. Like, it's
Was that hard for you at first?
It was hard at first, but our kids look at us. Your dad in the house, they look at us, they see us. Your phone all the time. You're not connected. Sometimes on the phone you seem like over your shoulder, and it's like, oh shoot, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And so it's that awareness that phone is distracting you from your kids and from your spouse. So for me, I might lose a transaction or two, but dude, once I put the kids down, the phone goes away. Now I might go back and check it really quickly and see if someone needs something, but like the phone is not in my lap after 8 o'clock. It's on the nightstand charging.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing too. It's just to be present.
It's about habits too. And you can have good habits, you can have bad habits. And I think that's a good habit to have, probably a good habit that I need to get back to. I did that for a period of time. And, I've got my Apple Watch. Anything that's super important that needs to be addressed, I'm going to see it on my watch, right? But it's going to eliminate the mindless scroll, the just checking Instagram, checking Facebook, Zillow, all that stuff. And you can be more purposeful with your time. So
notifications, you can turn those off too. So I don't have notifications on from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I might not work or take a phone call, but my phone is not chirping at me from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Right. I love that.
Yep.
All right. So now the fun stuff, fatherhood and family. What is your favorite part about being a dad?
Oh man, that's my favorite part. There's so many things. That's hard to say, like, what's the favorite thing, but it's being on the property is a blessing to just hang out with them, and see them grow and show them new things and, seeing the smile on their face. But I don't the love, you know, like there's no love like love from a kid, and you know, the protection. It's the greatest thing, you know, throwing a kid up in the air and seeing that smile,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, I would just say being present with the family, having fun, laughing and playing and roughhousing and rolling and getting dirty with your kids, whether the boys or girls. I love it. Yeah.
It's the best.
It's so good, man. It really is. It's so good.
I think anybody that has that knows it's an undescribable, for me, an undescribable like recharge of the batteries. You know, you can have a tough day, and you know, in real estate, sometimes it's peaks and valleys. You can be a rock star, everybody can hate you, and especially in leadership, right? And so, having a tough day and then going home, and they don't know what kind of day that you had, and they're just pumped to see you, and you're, like you said, like wrestling and all those things. It's just such a instant recharge of the battery.
Oh, you forget everything.
Mm-hmm. How do you balance the demands of real estate life and being present with your family? I know we talked about there is no balance, but like, how do you make those two work together?
I think our industry does a really good job of, you know, taking $200 an hour and making them do $30 an hour work. Mm-hmm. And there's a big fear associated with hiring somebody. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if I didn't have a team to do those things, I would be running, you know, pre-quals at 8:00 at night because I wasn't able to get to them during the day. And so investing in team and infrastructure, there's a book called Mastery. It's really great. And it kind of talks about like, as you're mastering something, you have these peaks, but then you have the end plateaus, and then you kind of have these valleys and growth. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you have to understand, like when you're growing, there's a capacity that you're going to hit based on your systems and infrastructure, and you've got to hire and provide support so that you can grow again. And so I wouldn't be able to be as present as a father without the support system and the team that we've put together while doing the volume that I'm trying to do, right? Like I could do a tenth of the volume and probably do it, but that's not
the tenth of the income too.
Yeah. It's a tenth of the income, you know? And so, I know that's not like but I think that's where people make the mistake. Hire wrong. Don't put the structure in place.
Or don't hire at all. You know, they're afraid of leverage,
and they don't hire at all. I think that's the best thing that you can do is it's scary, but hire someone.
I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are control freaks. Speaking as one, and I think for me, if I'm in a car, I'm driving, right? Yeah. Like I want to drive. Is that the best thing for me to do at all times? Probably not, right? If there's a time where someone else can drive, but I could sit in the back and work and, you know, kind of kill two birds with one stone, then that's really best. But it's really hard to give up those keys at times. Yep. And so I think being able to open your mind to leverage and putting the right people around you so that you can have a business versus a really cool job, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's really important. Yeah. What's a parenting lesson that you learned that carried over and helped you in business?
Man, I was raised by wolves, so I don't have a lot of parenting lessons that you're talking about, like growing up. Like, what did I learn as a kid growing up that helped me?
Or as a parent yourself. Could be as a parent yourself.
What if my kids have taught me compassion and patience?
Yeah. This industry is very important.
Probably patience, right? Yeah. You know, you know, when you're an energy guy, like you're like, right. And so I think my kids have probably taught me, I would love to ask my wife that question, like have someone ask my wife that question and see what the answer is. But, patience, I bet you know, because, you have to have patience in this business. I struggle with that. I struggle. I'm a 99D, 99I. And so I struggle with patience. And so that's probably it, you know, getting down at their level, looking them in the eye and slowing down and listening. Mm-hmm. It's probably something that I've learned from parenting that I try to implement in the business.
Yeah. Meeting people with where they're at. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Just this morning, my youngest was having these kids just get out, you know, they get so emotional. They just get out of their mind. And, you know, I sat her down and got down to her level, looked her in the eye, asked her to breathe and, you know, had a conversation. I could have gotten hot and she would have got hot, you know? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think that patience and situational awareness to bring her back down is probably pretty helpful in the business because you get these stressful situations. There's so many times in the mortgage side where there is stress that people are expecting me to fix, and it's a problem that I did not create.
Mm-hmm.
and I can inherit that stress, or I can just come down to the level, figure out where we're at, and fix the problem.
I love that. What is one of your favorite dad traditions or routines? Could be family traditions as well.
Dad traditions are Saturday pancakes are pretty fun.
Tell me about
I make
that.
I make really good pancakes, and the girls love it. And so I like a slow Saturday morning. I think that's probably it. We've got a great family tradition where we go to church every Sunday. That's another good one. We go to church every Sunday, but her sister and their kids, her sister and husband, their kids, her parents come. We all go to church. We all take the same row, and then we go to Mojo's. If you're
Oh
out
yeah,
here,
Mojo's
tacos. We go to Mojo's, right afterwards and have lunch together, and then we're always kind of on the property. So this is it. So we have a rule in the household: there's no devices on Sunday. So we don't have the TV's not on. They're not on iPads. We're playing music in the house. We're not, watching sports and things like that. And I think that's been something really good for us, where it's just kind of that family Sunday.
Yeah.
And I tell my agents that, like, hey, like, I'm around on the weekends, but Sundays I don't have my phone glued to me because I'm doing my family stuff. And that's been a hard barrier to put in place, but I think it's been super powerful for the family.
Well, again, if you have your business set up like a business, you can operate that way, and you have the freedom to then be present whenever you need to be present, and you can be all in whenever you need to be all in, because you've charged that battery too. Like we've spent that present family time, so now I don't feel like I'm being pulled in all directions.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go a little rapid fire here to kind of finish this up. What's one thing that most people don't know about you?
That's tough because I feel like a lot of people know what's going on about me. What?
Yeah.
I feel like on social, and I'm kind of an open book. I think we're all kind of insecure at heart. I feel like sometimes I come off overconfident in that, but like we all have insecurities, and I think maybe that I'm always questioning things, and that's something that I have to be careful of. Maybe I'm getting really vulnerable there, but that can creep in and overwhelm, and I've got to be careful about that for sure. I don't know.
That was something I picked up.
Radio show once.
Do what?
I was on a radio show once.
Which one?
The Money 105. Yeah, man. Fireside Chats. No, that's good. What else? What else you got?
What's your go-to way to unwind or recharge after a long day?
Well, I've got about a good 20-minute drive home and just paying attention to what I'm doing there. That 21, because the thing is too, is, what I've realized, and you can just watch your kind of kids, if you engage with them when you come home, they get more engaged with you when you come home. But when you don't really engage with them because you're distracted, then all of a sudden, like, they're not paying attention when you get home, and you kind of have to work to re-engage so that they're like, Dad, when you come home. And that, focusing on that 20 minutes of driving home rather than like continue to run through the day. I don't know, that little decompression, and then just be ready. Like when I walk in the door, like, go get the kids, have them a hug, see how they did, like engage immediately when you get home. I think that's probably something.
I need that 20-minute drive. We've talked about
I really do.
Moving closer, things like I need that 20-minute drive. And I make it a rule to never go into the house on the phone. I've done that before. And it felt terrible. Felt so bad. I'm on the phone. I've been gone all day. The kids haven't seen me. The first thing they see whenever I walk on the phone is, my finger up, like, hey, 1 second. And it just felt terrible. And so Carter asked me the other day, he's like, how come you were waiting in your truck in the driveway, whenever you got home? And I was like, buddy, I was finishing up a phone call, and I just never want to walk in the house on the phone. I haven't seen you all day, and I want to be present. And so finishing that up. I think that's a good one. What's your dad's superpower? What is your dad's superpower?
Man, I don't know what my dad's superpower is. I feel like it's the kids just want to be with you, man. They always want to be with you. And my wife tells me that all the time, and I tell, like, we have, I'm on the property digging holes and doing stuff, and, these things that you don't think little girls would do. And she's always like, it's not the activity, it's hanging out with you. And so, it's maybe our situation right now, which is amazing, but, be able to take the time on the weekends to really do those outdoor things. I feel like that's going to be really great for my daughters moving forward. having a great relationship with your wife, I think, is pretty good too. I feel like we do date night every night. So if I have a dad, maybe that like I open the door for my wife. It's those things, and and I love my wife, but I'm also intentionally trying to show my daughters how they should be treated.
Yep.
And so I really try. I've intentionally focused on that, trying to emulate the way that a man should treat a woman, because I've got two little girls. So maybe that's it.
Sammy and I were talking about that the other night. We just had the daddy-daughter dance.
Saw that, man. You had this roses and
Yeah,
she's coming down. That was good, man. I was like, shoot. I actually saw that video and I was like, I've never greeted her at the stairs with roses when she came down. I was impressed, man. Well done.
it's I got to credit Sammy for that. She gave me the idea, but I think it's important because eventually I'm not going to be her date to the dance, and she needs to have expectations. And you've got two girls, and so obviously they're seeing how you treat people, how you treat their mom, and that's going to be ingrained in them and what they expect. I've got a boy and a girl, so I've got a girl that's seeing the same thing, but then I've got a boy that is seeing how I treat his mom, and that's how he's going to know is appropriate to treat his girlfriends and his wife and things like that. So I think that's super important.
I agree.
Anything, we're coming up to time, anything that we didn't cover that you feel like is super important that you want to go over?
No, I mean, I feel like those are some good questions. I feel like we covered a lot here. I think I'm just thinking like who's going to be watching this, and I'm wondering if more so it's going to be people who are just getting into the business, and that would be the thing that I would say is that real estate and this is real estate dads, right? So real estate is an amazing opportunity to fundamentally change the financial future of your family, but it's not without a grind in the beginning. I mean, it absolutely is. And but it's pretty cool, I mean, what other business can you get into for $1,500, $2,000 and have the opportunity to make hundreds of thousands? Like if I want to go be a restaurateur, like I've got to, before I ever sell a hamburger, I'm in debt to my eyeballs. Like that's just not a thing here. And so, there's a grind that's going to happen in real estate in the beginning, and you're going to be out of balance. But be present when you can. But I just don't compare to the people that are taking these trips. Like Josh Anderson's a great follow. I bring him up a lot. Like but dude, like that guy grinded for years.
He wasn't taking the fancy trips day one.
No, not at all. He is now because he's earned it. And so that's the challenge. I think sometimes is they're like, shoot, how do I get there? It's like, well, you got it. Don't look now. Like look at the first 5 years, So
put in that grind, and then you can reward yourself with being able to do what you want to do in the future instead of what you have to do. Right.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, Keith, appreciate you, sir. Thank you for being our first guest. I feel like this is really great. They're going to get a lot of things from this, and I appreciate you, man. We'll see you in a little bit.
Take care, brother. Have a blessed one.
All right. See ya.
Bye.